Operation Fox Hunt, a Chinese plot to kidnap American citizens. We're going to talk to the reporter who exposed it. But first, why big city police chiefs say politicians are the problem behind our crime epidemic. Good evening, I'm Leland Vittert. We like to say two things can be true at once. So right now, shootings are surging in major American cities. And those sworn to protect us from the bad guys say the politicians are at fault. Yesterday, people dining in a ritzy area of downtown D.C. were forced to take cover as shots rang out on the street. 2 men were injured in the shooting. The D.C. police chief then gave a fiery response, echoing sentiments felt in other cities, like right here in Chicago.
You cannot coddle violent criminals. You cannot. You cannot treat violent criminals who are out here making communities unsafe for you, for your loved ones, for me, for my loved ones. They might not want a job. They might not. They might not need services. What they may require is to be off of our streets because they're making it unsafe for us. And if that's what it requires, then that's what it requires. And we have to own that. We have to own it, because if not, we see more of this.
If the courts are continuing to release violent people we arrest, the outcomes of our strategy are less effective than they could be if they hold violent offenders.
We've heard similar sentiments from the Oakland police chief. We bring in former New York City Police Commissioner Howard Safir, who has a lot of experience dealing with City Hall, mayors, and the courts as well, in addition to running the police department. Mr. Former Commissioner, it seems as though this has gone from a crime problem to a political problem.
It absolutely is a political problem. The problem is that leftist city mayors and leftist city councils are basically causing the police to be unable to do their job by passing regulations and laws that handcuff the police. And it's a terrible thing, and it is bringing us back to the bad old days that we saw in the 1990s.
I think in the bad old days back here in Chicago, there were something like 900 homicides in 1 year. It struck me as I watched the chief of police in Washington, D.C. go on, and it wasn't just for those 90 or so seconds that you saw on television. It was for about 5 minutes, and he was clearly emotional about this. In him blaming his bosses, he's not an elected official, he's putting his job at risk.
He is, and it was a very brave thing to do because he is appointed. But the fact is, somebody has to tell the truth. Yeah. And the truth is that leftist politicians have vilified the police. Black Lives Matter and Antifa are ruling the day in those cities like Seattle and Portland and parts of New York and New Jersey and Philadelphia, which has the highest per capita murder rate in the United States. And unless we do something and do it now, you know, I look at what happened in Washington last night. That was more like Beirut than it was like our nation's capital. This is a crisis.
I've spent some time in the Middle East in watching that gun battle around a restaurant just a block away from where the president and vice president had brunch a couple of weeks ago. It was reminiscent of what you'd see in the Middle East. This was a tweet from the D.C. Police Union. Welcome to Washington, D.C., where violent crime permeates everything. It is a tragedy. The elected officials won't let us do our jobs. That was in response to a shooting at National Stadium, the baseball stadium, last weekend. Question, is the only reason now we're hearing more about this and the police chiefs are speaking out in the way they are is because of where in cities these crimes are happening?
Absolutely. You know, police chiefs know what to do. The fact is, we cleaned up New York in the late 90s and 2000 and right into 2010. But what happened is when the administrations changed, they did things like take away qualified immunity from police. They called police. Look, the president of the United States called police racist and brutal and said it was a problem throughout the United States. Could not be further from the truth. But when our national leader is vilifying the police along with these leftist politicians, police are going to hang back. They're not going to do the job that they're really paid to do. We're seeing huge retirement numbers. We're seeing very little recruiting. And
the chief talked about that today, saying, I simply don't have the manpower. My force is stretched too thin, and talked about how the funding had been cut. He also blamed, we don't have time to run the soundbite, but he also blamed the very, very loose marijuana laws that are in Washington, D.C. There's a number of other cities around the country that have very lenient marijuana laws. Is that a problem, or is marijuana just a victimless crime?
Absolutely not. Marijuana is a gateway drug, and the fact is that illegal marijuana continues to be used even in places where it's legal. The illicit market is still going on. People, I was a federal narcotic agent for quite a number of years, and I watched very few heroin addicts who didn't start with marijuana. So it is a problem, and the biggest problem of all is we're not letting police do what they know how to do. Yeah. If we let police know how to do what they do, we will reduce crime. But that does not look like it's happening. We have a pandemic that it looks like we're coming out of. We now have a national epidemic on crime on us.
They say in America, oftentimes the pendulum swings too far one way. You have to wonder how long it's going to take to swing back the other way. Former New York City Police Commissioner Howard Safir, appreciate you taking the time on a Friday afternoon, sir. Thank you.
Good to be with you, Lynn.
All right. Now to this, and pay attention. Beijing is waging spy wars right here on American soil. The U.S. government has now uncovered a covert Chinese operation that capitalizes truly on the American way of life. And the reason we know about it, because of two reporters from ProPublica. Operation Fox Hunt, how China exports repression using a network of spies that are hidden in plain sight. Here is their breakdown of the operation from their piece. Quote, it illuminated a little-known cloak and dagger battle between Chinese operatives and American agents on U.S. soil amid growing tensions between these two countries. Sebastian Rotella is a senior reporter at ProPublica. He focused on a New Jersey family pressured to serve as spies for the Chinese government. He joins us now on a very shaky Skype connection, but we sure appreciate it because this is such an important story. What was your biggest surprise in investigating it?
I think my biggest surprise was how intense and widespread this activity is, and how much effort and how many resources are put into pursuing these targets, sometimes for years and sometimes even after U.S. law enforcement gets involved. It's a global fugitive apprehension program, which in some parts of the world functions legally, but here in the United States is an illegal, essentially soft rendition program.
It seems as though, and the Chinese say, well, this is just us doing Chinese law enforcement. These are people who've broken the law and ran away to America, but it seems a lot more complicated than that, correct?
That's correct. There's a whole range of these fugitives, all of whom are charged with economic crimes or corruption, right? They're not murderers, they're not rapists, they're people charged with corruption or financial crimes. Some of them may have been people who stole money. Others, we've learned, are dissidents. Others are whistleblowers. Others are relatively minor people who got swept up in regional feuds and what is a very corrupt and difficult system. So, but no matter whether they did it or not, it's illegal to come to the United States and track people down and force them to come back.
It's amazing how the Chinese feel so brazen to be able to operate on U.S. soil in this way with Chinese law enforcement showing up. Do we have the quote from the article itself about Chinese law enforcement? Here it is. The extent to which China is brazenly persecuting people around the world, defying other nations' laws and borders with impunity. It continues. You told the story about one police officer who came over to do this, sort of the lead character in your story. He showed up in the United States on a tourist visa and said, I'm a Chinese police officer in order to run this operation. I can't really imagine a bunch of American police officers showing up on Chinese soil and getting that same kind of warm welcome to be able to rent a car and drive wherever.
I think that's right. I mean, this happened in 2015, 2016, 2017, where perhaps more of the focus of border enforcement was on terrorism and things like that. But still, it's remarkable that he was able to come in with a tourist visa, but hiding his true mission, saying he was a policeman. And we tracked, he's the main person indicted in this case, but we tracked his activities beyond the indictment and determined that he's been in the United States at least 8 times and pursued at least 2 other targets beyond the target in the case.
We're going to tweet out the link to your article, which is a must-read to understand how brazen the Chinese are in this. Real quickly, you went through a number of Chinese operatives and tracked them in this article. Are any of them going to be brought to justice in the United States, or is it only the people who were Americans who were co-opted that so far have been actually apprehended?
Well, sadly, so far, the people who have been apprehended are people who were recruited, some of them Chinese Americans, who were recruited essentially as indentured spies because one of their relatives had been caught in Fox Hunt and were used as operatives to track down other fugitives. So certainly the U.S. government has taken a strong step in charging and naming a high-ranking policeman and a high-ranking prosecutor who came here to try and bring these people back. But it's very hard to get at them, obviously, unless you catch them in the act.
Yeah, one might wonder what the Chinese would say if we did the same thing to them that they did to us. Sebastian, incredible reporting. We're going to tweet out the link so our viewers can read the full article and come back and talk to us often as you continue your investigation, sir.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Congratulations. Incredible reporting. The Chinese squads have infiltrated quite literally all parts of our society. The FBI director testified before the Senate Intelligence Committee this spring. The agency is now opening a new investigation into China, get this, every 10 hours. We welcome Chad Sweet. He's former chief of staff of the Department of Homeland Security, co-founder of the Chertoff Group, also worked as a CIA case officer in Asia. It seems as though the Chinese simply play by different rules than we do. Fair?
It is fair. When I was in the agency, we had strict rules of do's and don'ts. But when we go up against hard targets like China, North Korea, they don't play by those rules. And more importantly, because their societies are closed, authoritarian, they're called non-permissive environments. And so it's extremely hard for us to conduct intelligence operations. And they flip the freedom that we have in our open society against us to exploit that opening in order to conduct the kinds of operations that Operation Fox Hunt represents.
It's one thing to send intelligence operatives over here to try to bribe some scientist at some chip manufacturer to give them economic secrets, or even try to flip U.S. intelligence assets here or something like that. But the idea of coming here to kidnap U.S. citizens and or U.S. residents, why do the Chinese feel so emboldened that they're able to do it?
Because they can't, or because they've probed and they haven't met resistance. And so I think one of the key things that this administration will have to decide now that this article has come out, it's going to be a front burner issue in U.S.-Chinese relations. The administration so far has been fairly outspoken, criticizing China on a variety of fronts, everything from just this week attributing the Microsoft hack to China. But President Biden is dealing with progressives on the left where there is a fault line, and some of the progressives, about 40 progressive organizations, signed a letter to the president and to Congress saying that he should tone it down because it's threatening their ability to get Chinese cooperation on the reinstatement of the Paris Climate Accords.
Yeah, it was stunning. They said, don't say anything about what the Chinese are doing with the Uyghurs. Who cares about the Chinese ending democracy in Hong Kong? Focus on climate change, because if the Chinese promise to do something on climate change, that'll solve the world's problems. Political position they have, but that's their position. This brings up tangentially the case of Eric Swalwell, the Democratic congressman who you know was targeted by a Chinese spy. It's a little bit different than Operation Fox Hunt, because they're trying to grab Chinese Americans and bring them back to China. Here, this was a congressman who had been approached in what was called a honey trap. No evidence that it actually was successful. But either way, he's still on the Intelligence Committee. It seems as though you have to think that we know about one case of the Chinese doing this, but there's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of cases out there.
There are. In fact, that phrase, 1,000, is important. If you look at the China initiative in the Justice Department today, what you'll see is what's called the 1,000 Talent Program. And this is a program where the Chinese are proactively placing inside U.S. society, particularly in academia, in research labs, Chinese nationals who will act on their behalf to conduct espionage operations. And so what happened with Swalwell is just indicative of a very concerted, large-scale effort that the United States is facing and the FBI is tracking.
Well, Chad, excellent perspective. We appreciate you joining us as always. Enjoy the weekend. Best to the family.
Thank you, Will. Congrats on a good show.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Coming up, I never thought I'd say this. Moms versus masks. Why a group of liberal moms from one of the most liberal cities are now fighting to get their kids back into school, and they're meeting resistance. Plus, the cost of a clean city, the expensive high-tech way another major city is trying to keep the streets trash-free. Then, what would California be without Hollywood? My movie studios are now heading out of the state. And guarding the future, a look at what's at stake as Cleveland's baseball team now announces its new name. Well, it's that time of year again. Kids love it or hate it when stores start rolling out their back-to-school displays. But as parents are making their shopping lists, there's one item that they're going to need to add, perhaps depending on where they live. Masks, the third most populous school district in the country, Chicago, will now require staff and students to mask up heading into this school year. That's despite new CDC guidelines that require masks only for those who haven't been vaccinated yet. New York and Los Angeles haven't announced what they're going to do in light of these new guidelines. As you can imagine, not everyone is happy with that decision. Joining us now, Allison Weinger, who along with other parents from Manhattan's Upper West Side have filed a lawsuit to demand the reopening of New York public schools 5 days a week and is fighting the mask mandates. Allison, you've got two 7-year-olds. They're twins. Make your case. Why don't they need to wear masks?
You know, I think that we've seen that given the similar end results in COVID infections among all 50 states, it's obvious that masks have little to no benefit since all states have had different policy with it. We look at the rest of the world, and in Western Europe, I think all of the countries there have had no masks. The kids have been going to school throughout the whole pandemic, and they haven't been masked this whole time. And again, similar results to what we have seen in New York.
Yeah, the Upper West Side is one of the most liberal areas in America. I think you'd agree with that. And masks have become kind of political. Are your political views changing over this? Are you some lifelong Republican on the Upper West Side who's finally making a stand?
Yeah, you know, I'm a Democrat. I've been a Democrat my whole life.
Okay.
I really just wish that both parties, that the Democratic Party can come together and they can look at the science. I wish that I'm curious on where the mayor and the governor have looked at the research, and I would hope that they'd be a little bit more transparent with us to show us why they've decided that. Mayor de Blasio recently came out and said that the kids will be masked, and we have no idea what the metrics are for that. So
yeah, what the measures are, when they need to be masked, what number of cases they do or don't. Nothing's been shared. We had Dr. Amash.
So he said all kids will be masked in the city.
Yeah, no, but they didn't say why. They didn't say at what case level they'd take it off or why they made the decision. We had Dr. Amash Jha, one of the leading researchers into the science, and listen to the argument he made about wearing masks in school, and then we'll check in. Take a listen.
Thank God we're getting kids back into school full time.
Yeah, for sure.
We should just celebrate that. Mask or no mask. All right. Now, the second issue is, why should vaccinated people wear masks? Well, one major reason is we can't tell who's vaccinated and who's not. Schools are not requiring vaccinations. They're afraid to check vaccination status. And therefore, if they know they're going to have a lot of unvaccinated people in their midst, it's just much easier to make a broad mandate for everybody.
Thoughts?
Yeah, you know, I'm still looking at the research that I hear from Europe, and they're all saying that they're holding off with the vaccines for under 16 right now.
Right, they are.
And despite these claims of schools driving this wave, we see actually in England there was a report that said kids aged 2 to 11 now are the lowest estimated prevalence of all ages under 35, despite being totally unvaccinated, no masks anywhere, and full-time school for 4 months.
Wow.
So that, you know, is really promising.
You think about Mayor de Blasio putting down this mandate and the issues you guys have had in terms of trying to get your kids back into school. Are the teachers' unions playing any role in this?
Unfortunately, they are. I think we've all seen them play out. They've been very strong. I would hope that the mayor is
probably strongly not supporting you guys, right?
Exactly,
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, all right. Allison, come back and talk to us as this lawsuit goes on. We appreciate your perspective. Fascinating.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Admire you for standing up for your kids, no matter the position. They're lucky to have you as a mom.
We want kids back in school full time with a normal year of school. I think they deserve it. I think we need to advocate for them, and we know that this is what the rest of the world is doing.
You're a strong spokeswoman.
So much.
Thank you. Right now, we bring in Dr. Peter Hotez. He's Dean of the National School of Tropical Medicine at Baylor College of Medicine, also co-director of the Center for Vaccine Development at Texas Children's Hospital. In that role, he leads a team and product development partnership for developing new vaccines. Doc, what do you make of what Allison was bringing up, of this discrepancy between the way the Europeans are treating vaccinating children and the way we are?
Yeah, I know, I understand her comments. What I would say is this: the problem is, a lot of the data and information we're going on is with the original lineage or the B117 variant from the UK. And now we're dealing with a different animal. We're dealing with a different virus. This is the Delta variant, which unfortunately is twice as transmissible as anything we've seen before. And now we're seeing an uptick not only among unvaccinated young adults and adolescents, but also kids going into pediatric ICUs. I don't think this virus is targeting kids necessarily. I just think so many people are getting infected now that it's sweeping up a lot of kids and adolescents in the intensive care unit.
It seems as though we got to, forgive me, but it seems as though the case you're making right now is we're going to pretty much have to get ready for two Americas, the vaccinated part of America and the unvaccinated part of America.
I think that's right, and I agree with that. And so let me give you two scenarios. Let's start with the more dramatic one where I am here in the South, where only about less than 20%, in some cases only 15% of the adolescents are vaccinated in many states like Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, maybe 30 to 40% of young adults, and a number of the red state governors saying no mask mandates at all.
Yeah, just while you say that, I want you to listen to this from Ron DeSantis. Take a listen.
At the end of the day, we got to start putting our kids first. We got to look out for their education. Is it really comfortable? Is it really healthy for them to be muzzled and have their breathing obstructed all day long in school? I don't think it is.
From experience, it doesn't do much for your skin either. After the last year wearing masks, I'm guessing you say that's a...
Listen, don't tell me about Governor DeSantis. He mocked me 3 weeks ago on Fox News when I said COVID-19 is coming back to Florida, and now Florida's leading the country in COVID cases. So he's not a reliable source of information.
No, I guess I'm going to say you disagree with him clearly on this.
Well, let me finish my thought. So if you look at what's going on in the southern United States, we have only less than 20% of the adolescents vaccinated, 40% of the young adults vaccinated. A number of the red state governors are saying now no mask mandates, and the Delta variant. So we know what's going to happen. We're going to see a pretty steep acceleration of COVID-19 in the schools, and a number of adolescents will get COVID, a number of young kids will get COVID. Yeah. And we don't know the full consequences of that.
Yeah, no. You pointed that it could be a very long fall, especially in these areas where cases are spiking.
So
we talked to some doctors. Doctor, I appreciate it. I'm sorry I'm out of time, but next time I want to hear what your view is sort of in these other parts of America. Dr. Hotez, appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sure.
Good to see you. Coming up, it's all in the family, you might say. What is art created by Hunter Biden worth, and what's he going to do with all the money he gets for it? Plus, cancel the Olympics. Those are the chants heard loud and clear outside the opening ceremonies as the games have officially begun in Tokyo. Then, follow us on social media at Leland Vittert. There you go. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all your favorite places. We'll read some of your favorite tweets at the end of the week. That should put you in the mood for the movies. Try to imagine Los Angeles, though, without the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. Wouldn't be LA. The television and film industries may have a new favorite place for all of its productions. New Mexico's film office says movie and TV studios have spent an estimated $623 million in the state so far. That's just this year. That's a new record, topping the previous record set in 2019 by $100 million. What's driving studios out of the land of enchantment? Well, a 35% tax incentive for starters. That'll do it. They say one person's trash is another's treasure. In San Francisco, they're trying to make sure that they don't have a treasure's worth of new trash cans, or they might actually spend a treasure on trash cans. The new prototype is one of 3 new designs approved by the San Francisco Department of Public Works. Each one of these trash cans costs $20,000. Officials say it costs so much because it includes smart technology that will alert the city when the can is about to overflow or hire more garbage collectors. In Tokyo, there were no fans, as we've heard, allowed inside the Olympic Stadium for the opening ceremonies, but plenty of fans could still be heard outside. Maybe not fans, perhaps protesters. They marched and chanted things like "Cancel the Olympics." The group started in a main shopping district in Tokyo, then marched to the stadium. Many wore masks and carried signs with messages opposing the games that have started. The chants were so loud they were audible inside the stadium just as they went to a moment of silence for those who have died of COVID. Another story making headlines in the world of sports today. Goodbye Indians, hello. No, we're not making this name up. Guardians. Cleveland's baseball team, known as the Indians for more than a century, are making a change. Washington's football team did that last year. They were the Washington Redskins. As you might imagine, reaction to the change is, shall we say, mixed. Joined now by comedian and Ohio native Michael Loftus. Michael, appreciate it. Forgive me, I would have thought you would have had a Cleveland Guardians jersey on for us.
You know, they were sold out. I went to the big Cleveland Guardians store, and they had sold out of the one jersey that some poor soul made by hand. This is the worst name in the history of sports. Who does this make happy? Who does this appease? The 3 guys in their parents' basement who wrote angry letters about the name the Indians? This is cancel culture at its worst. It needs to stop, and stop immediately. They need to switch back to Indians.
Well, what's interesting is, and you make a really good point, because there are a couple of Native American groups who are happy that they've changed the name, but they really dropped the name Indians on their jerseys and everything else a couple of years ago and just went by Cleveland, and they dropped the Chiefs logo off the top. Joe Ward, our producer, can tell me the name of the Chiefs on the top of the logo. I don't know who it was. But anyway, they dropped all that. Now, so everyone went out and bought Cleveland jerseys. Now they've come back and have to buy Guardian jerseys. So you think this was about money, or was this about like some sincerely held belief that they were offending people?
Well, the only thing that the owners in Cleveland are doing with Guardians, they are guarding their wallets. They are guarding the bottom line. They don't care about the sport. They don't care about the fans. They just care about making their money. We're showing
while you're talking about this, we're showing all the new merchandise that shockingly made it onto the website just as they announced the new name.
Right. And here's who I feel bad about in all this. Not only Cleveland Indian fans like myself, I feel bad for the family of Louis Sockalexis, who is the Native American, who was the first Native American Major League Baseball player, and he played in Cleveland. Listen, they didn't make up the name Cleveland Indians out of nothing. It was in honor of this guy who broke every barrier. Why aren't there movies about this? There should be more Cleveland Indians.
Let me ask you this.
It is fascinating, but
I'm an old school journalist. I came from the White House, and you could always count, especially during the summer on Fridays, that the White House would drop some kind of news that they hoped that would just sort of go away over the weekend. Everybody would forget about. By Monday, would move on. You've got the Olympic opening ceremonies tonight. You have the NHL draft tonight. You think this was what we used to call the Friday news dump by the Cleveland Guardians Indians baseball team?
I think with an aim like that, you are dead on, my man. You are dead on. With that kind of aim, you should be a starting pitcher for the Guardians. They're completely trying to bury this story. But unfortunately, I think only 4 people are going to be watching the Tokyo Olympics. The Olympics, the opening ceremony, where an interpretive dance goes to die.
We've been doing that story. I want to get back to the Olympics here in a minute. Before I do that, though, they announced it by having Tom Hanks introduce the Guardians. Take a listen.
We are loyal and proud and resilient. We protect what we've earned. and always defend it. Together we stand with all who understand what it means to be born and built from the land. Because this is the city we love and the game we believe in. And together, we are all Cleveland Guardians.
All of us?
Listen, you've got a PR disaster. When you have to trot out Tom Hanks to try to convince you we are loyal, we are Cleveland, that's something you do when you're incredibly disloyal. When you have to have some rip-off Tom Hanks looking horrible baseball documentary look-alike, it's horrible. They know they've made everyone unhappy. They know the name Guardians is horrible, and all they're doing is appeasing cancel culture.
You said it was cancel culture. The Washington Redskins are now the Washington Football Club. Are we getting to the point, though, that if you show up, this isn't an explicit message, it's an implicit message. If you show up wearing a Washington Redskins jersey, or you wear a Redskins hat out, or you show up to a Cleveland Indians game with a Cleveland Indian hat, are you suddenly going to be called a racist?
Boy, that's a great question, and I'd love to find out. I'll be the first guy. Listen, I'll go. Send me on a field trip. I will show up at a Cleveland Guardians game wearing full Cleveland Indians gear. I'm an old school fan. I go way back. I remember if you showed up in a Cleveland Indians jersey, there was a good chance you were going to start. That's how horrible they used to be.
Well, yeah, and they still haven't won a World Series since the 40s, so we'll see if the name change does them any good. Michael, we appreciate it. It was a great conversation. Come back and talk to us about the Olympics here over the next couple of weeks, will you?
Let's do it. Let's set it up.
We will. Good to see you.
Good to see you, man.
Well, the Olympics don't have any fans, but summer festivals around America do, a sign that perhaps we're getting a little closer to normal. Lollapalooza kicks off in Chicago next week. I've been reminded by that every day by one of our producers. And tonight in Miami, the party is Rolling Loud at Rolling Loud Music Festival. And when there's a music festival, who else might we expect to find there than NewsNation's Brian Entin? It says in this prompter here that you're having some fun there tonight. You have a ticket? What's the tunes? How's it going?
Yeah, we're having a good time. You know, Leland, I was listening to you just talk about the Olympics and no fans there. This is like the total opposite here in Miami right now at Rolling Loud. This is the biggest hip-hop concert in the world. Hundreds of thousands of people have come here to Florida to take part. Most of them told us that they've gotten the vaccine. They feel safe here. Listen to what some of these fans told us a little while ago, Leland.
We're both vaccinated and stuff, so I mean, like, we're not too worried about it. I mean, at this point, I feel like a lot of people have either been vaccinated or like it's kind of like passed through, so.
Where are you from?
I'm from Jersey.
Are you excited?
I'm excited, yes.
Are you worried about COVID at all?
No, I got my shot.
I got my vaccine, so I'm invincible. Hey, get your vaccine. Make sure you get your vaccine, man.
What about with these big crowds, though? Does it concern you at all with, you know, the Delta variant and all of that?
No. I've been to a lot of places since COVID, so I'm not really worried about it. I got a mask, though, for when I go inside.
You heard that one guy say, Leland, he feels invincible with his vaccine, and they're having a pretty good time behind me.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Real quick, because in Florida, Lollapalooza and the Windy City Smokeout, at least here in Chicago, they checked. You either had to have proof of vaccine or proof of a negative COVID test. Are they allowed to do that legally in Florida, or is it only about vaccines?
Absolutely not. They passed a law in Florida, sponsored by Governor Ron DeSantis, that says you cannot check for a vaccine passport, you cannot ask people if they've had the vaccine, and you cannot require a negative COVID test. So none of that is happening at the concert behind me.
The tourism dollars rule the day. Brian Entin in Miami, we appreciate it, my friend. Good to see you as always.
See you, Leland.
There we go. Coming up, simple question. Is it ethical? The White House now going through verbal gymnastics to defend Hunter Biden's art sales. We're going to check in with an art dealer about what she thinks of Hunter's new works. All right, the Biden administration is still holding on to its claim of running the most ethical White House in history. That's a quote. So despite lingering questions over whether art patrons are going to be able to seek influence with the first family by purchasing a work of art by Hunter Biden, the president's son, he has an upcoming exhibition in New York City. It's his first. Critics argue that Hunter Biden's art wouldn't be worth much of anything if he weren't the son of the president of the United States. The White House initially said buyers would remain anonymous to the young Biden, curbing any possible influence. Now they're confirming reports that Hunter Biden is going to attend gallery events in New York and Los Angeles with possible patrons. We bring in Mary Goldberg, owner of the Zenith Gallery in the Washington, D.C. metro area. What better place to sell Hunter's art than in Washington, D.C.? Would you have taken this listing if you could have?
No.
No? Not very impressed with the art?
No, actually, you're not the first news outlet to ask me. I have been in business 43 years in Washington, and by the way, it's Marjorie Goldberg.
Oh, Marjorie, pardon me.
That's okay.
I should have known that. That was my godmother's name. I apologize.
Yeah, but as I say, I spell it Margery, not the way the lunatic in Congress spells her name. But never mind.
Okay.
I'm in Washington. What can I do, you know? But, you know, I think art, you know, I started at 10 years old. You can start at 10, you can start at 100. You could do art at any age. But you have to grow into it. You have to develop your art. And he, you know, nobody, I have never heard of an artist in my entire life who started out selling their work at the prices these are supposed to sell for.
So,
and, you know,
we're going to put up some of these works.
Okay.
Based on what you're saying about them, if it was Hunter Smith rather than Hunter Biden, what would these be selling for? Or would they be selling?
They might be selling. The one I like the most is the first one you put up.
Can we go? Let's go back to that one so we can show you. Okay.
No, and that is, some of these are just so done, you know. I mean, that is the one I like. It's a person, it's interesting, it's got some negative space to it. This is just instead of a big blob to me. And, you know, I can show you hundreds, if not thousands, of artists' work that is so much, you know, better than this. That one isn't bad. I like the writing on it.
Who buys this, you think?
I can't imagine.
Okay.
You know,
well, it's interesting you say that, because the White House former ethics chief, and this is the ethics chief, important to note, that was there during the Obama-Biden administration, so 2009 to 2017, he wrote this: imagine you're a Kremlin official looking for a way to embarrass the U.S., and one day you read that the White House negotiated with a private art dealer to keep secret the name of buyers who pay outrageous sums in an upcoming auction for an artwork by the president's son. And originally, this was going to be all anonymous, supposedly, but now there's going to be these gallery visits, so conceivably Hunter can meet all the people who are going to be there with his art. I'm sure you've been at meetings like that, right?
I had one last weekend. I have openings constantly. And having an opening and having the clients there is normal. I mean, him being there is normal. I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. What I think is the only reason they're having the galleries are having this show is because he's the president's son. Yeah. Now, I also think that, frankly, of some of the other things he's done, this may be the least embarrassing thing he's ever done to his father.
He's had some issues for sure. You don't want to hold that against somebody at the same level. This is the White House's position on this, as we've noted, has sort of been, well, to put it generously, evolving. Take a listen to Jen Psaki.
I think it would be challenging for an anonymous person who we don't know and Hunter Biden doesn't know to have influence. This showing that was that you're referencing was previously public. He's not going to have any conversations related to the selling of art. That will be left to the gallerist.
Is that possible, to have a meeting there and not talk about the selling of art?
I don't think so. You know, I mean, that's what we do. We sell art. That's what gallery owners do. If we're not doing that, we're not doing our job.
Right.
But, you know, I think And I don't really think that people buy art to gain influence with the president. I mean, that is about the silliest thing I've heard in a really, really, really long time. You know, I mean, what does this do? I mean, he might be glad that his son is expressing himself and working out some of his issues, and all of that is perfectly fine. But for somebody to think that they're going to buy a painting to get, you know, influence with the president, that is downright laughable.
Well, the thought would be if you bought some of these paintings for a couple of $1,000,000 and then you put on Twitter that you did, it certainly would let the Biden family know who's just enriched them pretty significantly. I guess you could put it in a trust perhaps until after the president was out of office or something like that.
First, if somebody buys one of those paintings for $1 million, I think they'd be far better off giving the money directly to Biden's PAC or to the Biden cause, because they'll be a lot more likely to gain influence.
That's an interesting point. I hadn't thought about that.
You know, I mean, why bother? I mean, you know, if you like the painting, buy the painting. But, I mean, you have to understand that this is an artist who is not an educated artist, who is working on his issues.
Let me ask you this way. If someone were to buy this piece now, what do you think it would be worth on either January 21st, 2025 or January 21st, 2029, when President Biden is no longer President Biden?
Not much.
Not much. All right.
No, I mean, on the other hand, you know, art is worth, you know, artists don't think in terms of weeks, years, or decades. We think in terms of centuries and millennia.
Fair.
So all that really matters is that somebody likes it. You know, if that work of art makes you happy, if it feels good in your home, that's the reason to buy it. I'm telling you, people do not buy art to buy influence.
Fair enough.
I mean,
I know it's a great perspective. Marjorie Goldberg.
I don't understand any other kind of perspective, to be honest with you.
No,
I mean,
we appreciate you coming on and sharing your expertise and your love of art. Owner of the Zenith Gallery with us tonight. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Good to see you. So, up next, is he ready to run for the White House? I don't think the doctor we had on earlier has much thought about Ron DeSantis, but just yesterday on this show, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis got an endorsement. We're going to take a look at how much money he's raised and where it's coming from. One last thing on 2024 Watch. Political Action Committee, the Friends of Ron DeSantis, now has more than $44 million. Florida's governor has raised more than either opponent for his re-election campaign, or perhaps he's preparing for a presidential race. The governor already has one endorsement. You heard it here last night on Balance. Here's Brandy Love. If President Trump, we know if he was to run in 2024 again, you'd support him. You have any other favorites in the conservative movement?
DeSantis.
Ron DeSantis. Okay. Anybody else?
I don't want to get rid of him. I'm a Florida resident, so I'd like him to stay put, but I would absolutely support him if he ran.
47% of Governor DeSantis' donations have come from out of state. We're going to see you next week. Prime with Marnie and Rob's next.